Hello, Nicola.
Good morning.
How are
How's
you?
it looking? How's it looking there in Cashel this morning?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
I have a I don't know if you heard a bell chiming. I
Oh no.
It's a app which I think is amazing, Plum Island, and it's a Buddhist, but
Mhm.
every 30 minutes it's just this chime to tell me to kind of breathe. I like it.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Um, and that certainly connects with, I just did my little meditation there this morning.
yeah,
That certainly connects with what we're talking about today, woman
absolutely.
and confidence,
That's
huh?
right. That's right.
Woman leaders
Yeah,
and confidence.
yeah. I have
Where
a
should we
question.
begin?
I have a question for you,
Mm.
Nicola. Do you think confidence is something that we're born with, or is it something we have to build up over time? What's your sense?
Yeah, that's a big question for the first one, Kathleen. That could go anywhere. But I've loved that book, The Confidence Code. And I think as women, and I do see it, I think as women, we struggle a little bit more with confidence. Like I just have to look at my daughter on the volleyball field, and it's really hard for them when they fail to bounce back, to get back on the game.
Yeah,
And and I think there's a little bit of difference in wiring and females and males, I think.
yeah, yeah.
What's your thoughts?
I think it fluctuates. Do you know?
Mm,
I certainly
mhm,
wasn't born with it. I've had to work at my confidence.
mm.
But you'd remember Sonia O'Sullivan, our
Yeah,
Olympic
yeah,
runner. And I remember a number of years ago reading an article about confidence, and she
yeah,
said it goes up and down. She says some
yeah,
days she can take on the world, and another day she wants to pull the duvet up.
yeah.
And I
So
think
that
there's
makes
truth to it.
And that makes me feel better,
Yeah,
that I'm normal. Um,
exactly.
maybe there's all different levels of normal, Kathleen, but yeah, I do struggle times. And, that little bit of coffee sometimes helps as well.
Yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
I think as women that it's tough for us. We're in a man's world predominantly, and things are getting much better,
Mm,
especially if you work with mostly men, which I used to work with mostly men. There's a different level of confidence when they come to the boardroom.
yeah. There's a difference even now, probably, in how we're brought up.
Yeah,
Do you know, certainly in the Irish home of old, the men got their dinner first.
that's right.
The boys were given more freedom, perhaps, to
Hmm.
go out and play, whereas girls and women had the chores to do. You know,
Yeah,
my
totally.
house, everybody did everything. So, and not,
Mm.
I think, not philosophically, but because we had a family business and it was kind of necessity. Whoever was home first put the
Ah.
dinner on.
Interesting. And I grew up in a very different, so that's interesting that you all kind of, were seen equally. I
Yeah.
grew up very different on a farm with four older brothers.
Uh,
And so there was very much the male role and the female roles,
yeah.
very much so. And
Yeah.
then I worked predominantly in male cultures as well as a programmer initially.
Mhm.
And so, I did see some differences. Sometimes I feel like I was there as a therapeutic role to help everybody, all these meals.
That's right.
Um,
I've heard
and
that said, how women are often, even currently, taking senior
mhm.
roles are taking up the welfare piece.
Yeah, totally. I feel like that's what I was there for
Yeah.
sometimes. And although I have to say, I liked work with males, I found them a lot of fun, generally. But I think as women, we do like just that piece back to the volleyball, we hold on to things too long
Yeah.
and we can be more prone. I know I can be prone to ruminating.
Mhm.
And yeah, and I'm trying to get better at that.
I
I
know.
think being an entrepreneur and just uh, setbacks as part of the business.
That's
And I
right.
think it's about practice. The more you
Right.
have it, the easier it gets.
That's right. That whole bouncing back, but bouncing back with some
Mhm.
learning after
Yeah,
the experience.
yeah.
Oh,
Win,
And,
win or learn.
and don't, it's funny, obviously
Mhm.
not a woman, but Rory McIlroy came to mind for me. And he
Mm.
seems to be an example of someone who, when he was low, it was this. He probably was doing a lot of ruminating. And I'm not
Okay.
certainly not a sports
Yeah.
psychologist or anything else.
Yes.
But isn't there people who really do succeed often have that capacity to pick themselves up maybe more quickly than the rest of us?
I think so. And yeah, that's interesting. Rory has done so well and he's looking forward to his Diet Coke, is it, when he finishes the game? It's pretty funny. We talk about him here too in Canada and it's just lovely. He seems to be a great sportsman.
Yeah,
But I think like I have really suffered with rumination and I think just holding on to things for too long, holding
yeah,
on to setbacks, holding on to the big things
yeah.
for too long. In fact, I remember one time when I was in a little hike when the kids were young, and the kids made up this song about me. It's funny, kids trying to kick you out of it. Nicholas, a repeat button, which was pretty embarrassing. But um, it's interesting in the book, The Confidence Code, they talk about, every time you find yourself doing that, to try to kick yourself out of it by
Yeah,
thinking about three good things.
that's right. And
Mm.
what we've learned in neuroscience is that we need to do that, to be
Mhm.
more gentle with ourselves, Nicola. Evolution,
Mm.
we've
Mhm.
evolved to hold on to the negative to protect ourselves. I think I might have
Yes.
mentioned before Rick Hansen, a psychologist, Buddhist monk as well,
Hmm.
but he says the brain is like Teflon for the positive and Velcro for the negative. So
Ah.
we need the three things to balance up
Mm. Hmm.
and not to
Yes.
beat ourselves up. Isn't that what we often do then when we can feel we're ruminating, we're going over it? We kind of
Mhm.
add to it by a kick, a judgment maybe about it.
Yes. Totally. We add that
Yeah.
extra detail, that
So that
assumption we make about
compassion.
ourselves.
What about is compassion needed?
I think compassion is needed. Stop being so, I mean, as women, I think we can be pretty hard on ourselves. There's so many ideals out there of being
That's
the
right.
perfect person, and some of us take it to extremes, the high achiever to extremes, and try to do it in every area of our life.
Yeah.
But that's impossible.
No,
And that's just a recipe for disaster. It's not going to make us successful. But there's
no,
so many ideals, what we should look like, how
that's
we
right.
should be as a wife, a mom, a daughter, all those
Perfect.
roles, huh?
Perfect.
And we put
Something
those
else,
judgments.
absolutely. Something else that struck me too
Mhm.
is the difference between confidence and competence.
I like that. Tell me about that, Kathleen.
Well, for me, it brings to mind when I was teaching
Mm.
Montessori and childcare, training workers, and I remember giving feedback, and some people, men or women, that can't take the negative. Do you know,
Yeah.
that happened because it was raining that day, or that happened because I
Mm.
was wearing my red shirt, or
Okay, they get defensive.
but had confidence, but not
Mm.
necessarily the competence. And
Mm.
for me, I see it like a scale, those old fashioned weighing scales.
Yeah,
And sadly, many women have huge competence, so able, but not necessarily have the confidence.
yeah,
And sometimes the people with the confidence and not the competence get through.
totally. It's a little bit of that emotional intelligence. I'm
That's right.
curious, Kathleen, what were you like, if you don't mind me asking, what were you like in your earlier days when you got criticism?
Oh, I took it on.
Yeah,
I
we
didn't,
take.
oh, I
Mhm.
just absorbed it. And of course, anything
Yeah,
that was probably right. Do you know? Yeah,
thank you.
confidence was not my strong point. It's
Thank
taken,
you for being honest. And I was the same. I remember thinking it was all about me. I'd totally absorb it and I'd
yeah,
get totally stuck.
I know. I
Huh?
know.
And I think that's it too. Reminding ourselves it's not all about us.
That's right.
And I think, it's not all about me. So there's other things at play.
Mm.
Huh? I do that with our daughter all the time. And I wish I'd known that earlier in my life because I took it all in.
We were like sponges, and sadly,
Like, yeah.
for the negative, maybe more than the positive, we might have let those compliments go.
Yeah. totally. And so I think it helps. I like how you say that, don't absorb it, don't take it
Yeah,
all in.
no,
Um, it's not all about me. There's other things at play.
that's right.
And if we can separate the information from me and then take it as an opportunity to learn,
And
that's
weigh
a
it up.
big jump.
Is it accurate? Is it something
Exactly.
here that I can learn from? Or
Hmm.
if I think it's not true, that's
Hmm.
fine too. But in a
Absolutely.
reflective way, like you've described,
Yeah.
you
And
know,
also, who's given me this feedback?
yeah,
And is this something that I should be, listening to? And is
yeah,
this helpful? And are they intending to help me with this feedback?
yeah. And actually, we could have a whole other podcast on giving feedback,
Yeah. So
you
people
know,
don't get defensive.
and people, many managers and leaders don't know how
Mm.
to give feedback.
No. And yeah, it's a great, it's just a skill. It's practice and
Exactly.
learning. Mm.
Yeah. Anything else from the confidence code you mentioned?
Well, I think it was, I remember that little saying, don't ruminate, rewire.
Yeah,
And I think, like you talked about earlier, our brain is elastic. And also the benefit of meditation just to calm that amygdala.
that's
I
right.
think we overlook just the basics of that sometimes
Yeah,
and how helpful that can be to calm the amygdala.
yeah,
So that, when these things do upset us, that just being more calm about it can really help.
that's right. And also, because in the same way, I think
Hmm.
as meditation, get up and move, get into
Oh,
our
yeah.
body,
Yeah.
and sometimes if it's been a bad experience or hurtful
Mhm.
experience, to get up and
Mhm.
literally shake it off,
Mhm. I like that. Shake it off here,
shake it
Kathleen.
off, because
Shake it off. Physically shaking it off. I like that.
literally, because what happens, I think, if we
Mhm.
don't consciously let go of it, we bring it into the next communication, we bring it into the next experience. I
Yeah.
always think of us having like a backpack of
Mm.
all our
Mhm.
experiences, and not everything is helpful that's in there.
Yeah. I like that analogy. So shake it off. Be careful what you're carrying in your backpack.
Yeah,
and and just let it go.
yeah,
Um, yeah, the meditation really helps with that too, just letting it
sure,
go, I
for
find.
sure. And
And
letting go of perfectionism too.
oh yeah,
Isn't that a
oh
big? It's
yeah.
not one of my
Hmm.
failings, but
Hmm.
it can. I've seen people really suffer from it.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a disease.
Yeah,
Hmm. And back to our leaders. Um, I think I notice leaders often suffer a little bit, some of them, especially women, suffer, and I've seen men too,
mm,
suffer a little bit of that imposter syndrome when they get promoted.
yeah,
And, worrying about will they have the confidence, will they add
that's
up?
right.
But
That's
I
right.
think it's realizing that the next level will be a bit of a stretch.
Mm,
And that's okay. It's okay to be the beginner again
yeah,
and to expect a little bit of a challenge
that's right.
and to expect that there will be a little bit of learning. But that's how you do everything.
Yeah,
You have to learn. It doesn't all arrive at once.
exactly. And to remind ourselves that we got the promotion for a reason.
There
So
you go.
maybe we're feeling doubtful on that
Hmm.
imposter syndrome, but the people who
Hmm.
either interviewed us or promote us, whatever, they have the confidence in us. So we should take heart from that, I think, too.
Yeah, I like that, Kathleen. They want us to succeed.
Yeah, for
They're
sure.
there to help us.
That's right. That's right. What
Okay.
about maybe just something that strikes me? We'll be wrapping
Mm-hmm.
up now in just a minute. The women executives, the women leaders that I've worked with as a coach,
Mm-hmm.
owning their voice has
Mm.
sometimes been an issue, you know.
Yeah.
And part of that, I think, is that we are such good listeners that we don't want to interrupt maybe at a meeting
Mm.
and we're waiting for
Mhm.
the right time.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to really push ourselves to make sure
Yeah.
that we are heard.
Yeah, I do see that a lot in women leaders and just, they over prep for those meetings
Mm.
so much so um that they get kind of bogged down in that as well. And it's like preparing enough and then thinking about how you're going to, share that and how that's going to help. Take the focus of you again a little bit. It's not about
Right.
me. And think about how is this going to help the organization.
Yeah. And
Again,
not
it's not all about
overcomplicate
me.
it.
Hmm?
Not overcomplicate it. Sorry, cut
Yeah,
across.
you're right. Overcomplicate it and shift the focus from you to the
Yeah, it's a good
organization. How is
point.
this going to help the
Good
team
point.
or
That's
the
right.
organization?
That's right. Well, our
Yeah.
time has gone quickly now, Nicola, and I'm just wondering, what would you suggest to our listeners?
Mm.
What would be a tip you would propose or you would remind them about?
Oh, you put me in the spot, Kathleen. So much today I think we've talked about, and I think this one is really like yourself, Kathleen. This one's really dear to my heart, working on that confidence. And I think it's about taking a risk, um, trying something new, and just doing something that maybe you're a little scared of
Yeah,
and taking that risk. And that can have momentous, really big feedback, just like really quickly, like even taking a trip, like going on a holiday, making, doing it,
yeah,
something that you're maybe scared of. And just anything, just
yeah.
take a little bit of a risk and it can really pay off.
Well, thank you for that wisdom and apologies for putting you on the spot with it. But
What
look what
about you,
came
Kathleen?
out. Look what came out. And I
Yeah.
think, yeah, self-belief is
Mhm.
something that we need to keep working at. No more than
Yeah.
confidence. I don't know that we're born with, well, we
Mhm.
probably were born with great self-belief, but then life chipped
Yes.
away at it.
Yeah, probably.
Do you
Mhm.
know?
Well, this has been a wonderful conversation, Kathleen. Thank you for all your insight as well, and look forward to
You,
seeing you next time.
Nicola. Thank you very much. Bye bye, all.
Bye bye.